In the 5th century to the 15th century, death seemed more common than life, not just from warfare, but from diseases like bubonic plague or Black Death. Death was everywhere. In fact, it's estimated only 9% of people during this time made it past age 60, and that 56% of men and 36% of women barely made it into the age of 35 before dying. There were around 500 deaths for every 1,000 births. Death surrounded everyone, and often hit the weakest. Children and toddlers dying before the age of 5 was incredibly common. It was made no better by the fact that warfare was constantly surrounded as well.
One of the earliest examples of a warfare group was the Vikings. The Vikings came from Scandinavia, which is now Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, in the late 8th century. Vikings were almost like the pirates of the Middle Ages. Think Jack Sparrow if he and Jason Voorhees had a ginger child. That's sort of what a Viking was. They were vicious in their methods of war. They went throughout Europe, colonizing places as far as North Africa, Greenland, and the Middle East. They all started as believers of the Norse religion, but later converted themselves to Christians. They often used heavy swords or spears for killing. Fun fact, they were also often motivated to kill by the Norse god of thunder himself, Thor, as well as the god of death, Odin. It is theorized that Vikings were so freaking violent because they were either incredibly drunk, attempting intimidation, or actually insane and had serious mental problems, or they were tripping on magic mushrooms. I'm not even joking about that. Professor Samuel Odman and botanist F.C. Schrubler believe that Vikings were eating I'm not even joking about that. Professor Samuel Odman and botanist F.C. Schrubler believe that Vikings were eating Amanita muscaria, which is a type of Professor Samuel Odman and botanist F.C. Schrubler believe that Vikings were eating Amanita muscaria, which is a type of hallucinogenic mushroom. And that was the reason they were actually losing their minds and behaving so recklessly.
The Mongols were next to the large Around this time, there were many advances in battle technology. The first being the Chinese invention of the little thing called gunpowder in the 10th century. It was actually invented accidentally by a Taoist alchemist, Wei Buing. He was trying to invent a potion for human immortality, but instead created something that could explode and kill people. He had mixed charcoal, sulfur, and saltpeter, praying that he could live forever. That didn't happen, obviously, but this was something that became pretty useful for something like cannons. However, most weapons at the time were simple blades and bows. Things like battle axes and daggers, clubs, and maces were what were usually being fought with. In terms of armor, there was chainmail, and no, that's not those silly emails. It was like a chain link suit that was quite good at stopping blades.
The Mongols were the next large militia group to invade. They were just as ruthless and brutal as the Vikings. Throughout the 13th and 14th centuries, the Mongol Empire was able to invade Europe. They started in Poland before crushing the Hungarians in, Hungary. They had planned to continue invasions, but were aptly cut short when Tamerlane, the last great Mongol leader, died. Fun fact about Mongols: they often released dead and diseased animals into a fortress as a way to give everyone in the fortress a disease. Mongols were throwing the Black Death around quite literally. In conclusion, the warfare was often violent and, with the Black Death, became very gruesome and brutal quickly. Everyone was fighting everyone, and death surrounded every family everywhere in Europe. Until next time, goodbye. You're supposed to say it with me, Kevin.
Yeah, well, I wasn't ready. You didn't tell me when. 3, 2, 1. Until next time, goodbye. What the hell, Louden?